So as we've seen with our first two presentations, that we generate a lot of information for actually materials and processes. So next, so what we've actually seen that in our experience, so we started working in additive manufacturing, well, in the years 2000 in ANSYS Granta. And we actually learned quite a lot in terms of data management strategy and knowledge capture. And one of the recent projects that we're actually working on currently is how we can actually help like the development of pilot lines, because sometimes you need to change so many parameters. How can you actually establish that swiftly in a commercial environment? And by gathering as well our experience with our, let's say, flagship customers in specific aerospace sectors, and our engagement with all the, let's say, large consortium for R&D, we've gathered quite a lot of actually, good practices and best way to handle all the data that we generate in additive manufacturing. Next, please. And all of that is actually supporting our data acquisition and management, which is our business unit called ANSYS Granta. So as you may know by the name, it used to be actually, an independent company, but it's been purchased by ANSYS last year. And we are consolidating our additive solutions and make sure, we can actually offer the best value for our customers. But today we're only focusing on the data capture and management. Next, please. So what do we hear, in the field? Because these are actually our core practice. We listen to what our customers are facing, and we try to actually, answer these questions as much as we can. So typically, when you, first case, you are a product manager, so you are actually generating data from so many different builds and from different machines, and it's really hard to get a grasp of what you're generating in the first place. So what kind of data do you need to capture? Then, from a materials engineering perspective, you store and review so many raw materials information, build parameters, and test results. Is it possible to analyze them against specifications from your customers or any regulation that you're actually working towards to? From a certification standpoint, so you need to review all the data which have been generated. Is it possible to have that in a single place, to help, with the certification and audit purposes? And finally, when you are design and analysis engineer in terms of simulation, so you would like to reuse, the test data that have been generated back, let's say, 10 years or 5 years ago, and you need to actually use that for design and simulation purposes. So you need to have a full confidence in the data that you're actually having. Next, please. And to address all these issues, we've actually centered our capabilities in 3 key areas: ensure traceability, helping the users to perform data analytics, and eventually, integrate, with downstream platform like design, simulation tools, or even PLM. So the reason why we have done that is because from a software architecture, you can actually store everything in a single place in a Granta MI instance, which is actually hosted by the customer server. So it's actually secure for the customers. And we can actually store design engineering, parts production, and even qualification data. And because it is on a single place, you have the possibility, to pull this information and use it for what we were going to see in the next slide, please. So you can actually share this information with a wider community, and just make sure, for instance, in testing, you provide all the testing requirement. For procurement, just to specify what are the types of powders that you are interested in, and design and development, what are, the A basis, B basis statistical data which have been generating from testing. So we have like a wider customer pool, but actually we are using the data which are stored in a single place. Next, please. And to be able to address, all these users community, so you have like different apps, which help them, to see the data in the format that they require. And this is where, you improve, the communication between departments, and you improve efficiency as well between the teams, because they have the data which are actually readily available for their activities. Next, please. So if we delve into, the specific of additive manufacturing, as we've seen, earlier in the presentations, and you captured at different types of information for the powders, the builds, parameters, the different heat treatments, or the non-destructive inspections as well. And eventually you perform some mechanical testing. And every single part could be actually a silo. But what we do then, so we make sure these different formats, different pictures, and so on are available in a single place, because after you can create meaningful links to be able to generate reports and potentially, plot some graph like I don't know, like a material performance parameter against a process parameter. And this is where you nurture your knowledge about your processes. Next, please. And this is a typical example there that we see in additive manufacturing. Well, you use like a single powder. So you actually create a part and then you have some test results coming in. And then when you actually use this same powder, but we actually multiple cycle of reuse, then you see that the fracture toughness is going to be reduced. So is there any way to prevent that by actually, well, I'm just saying it out loud, by tweaking some processing parameters? So what do we need actually to optimize to be able to reuse the powder as much as possible? And by actually, looking back at the data which have been stored, in the platform, then you will be able to answer and address this question. That's the technical part. Next, please. But when we look at the business perspective, knowing that actually you invest heavily, in new technology, you would like to make sure that you actually, part your money as appropriate as possible. Because by introducing new technologies, new processes, you have to perform like thorough, test matrices and qualify the material as much as you can to be able to actually certify that you're going to deliver the product consistently. And because it has a cost implication, you need to actually ensure that your stakeholders actually trust in what you're doing. And this is how you can actually ensure that by showing them the consistency of the work that you've done from day one. Next, please. And this is why, just to wrap up and make sure, I'm in time. So we can actually support our customers, to maximize their investment in additive manufacturing. When it comes to powder batches, so you want to ensure the full traceability of the blending or the recycle or the reuse numbers that you actually having in your companies. When it comes to build manufacturing, you want to make sure you have error-free and efficient data import. You don't want to corrupt information which is coming out of the equipment, because this is valuable piece of information for optimization perspective. And I'm thinking here in terms of machine learning there. Then eventually when you come to testing and validation, so you need to make sure all the tests that you've done, even if they are not good, every information that you capture from a process is relevant. Because after that, in the downstream part where you will do like some material and process data analysis, you will be able to identify some correlation that you potentially haven't thought of, because you can actually quickly visualize the data. And eventually, once you've actually approved, validate, and certified, like the material characterization process, then you can actually share this information into downstream processes like for simulation design or procurement department and so on, and quality check. As you can see there, by having like a single platform, we can actually enable the users to actually gather a wide array of materials information, but enable, in terms of project workflow, to leverage, that the structure of the database there. Next, please. So, as I've said, we actually will help you, in three main key areas. The traceability, to make sure that you capture every information in the right place, in the right location throughout the additive manufacturing value chain. Next, it's not about just storing information. You need to analyze the data and to visualize them in an efficient, in a swift manner. So we can actually provide that throughout the same platform. And eventually, ensure the continuity in a digital thread by actually pushing the data to downstream applications. And next, please. So I hope I have been actually concise and clear enough, even if I was actually limited in the time. Of course, then, so if you want us to perform like some software demonstration, feel free to reach out and we can organize, some specific sessions with your teams, and we'll be happy to do so and actually help you, to actually deliver, the the benefits of additive manufacturing. So that was it. I'm Freddie Mourinho, the application engineer, who is here to actually address any question you may have.